Thank you for Thank you for joining us this morning. I am Robert Theobald. I'm your Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services here at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and your host today. And we'd like to get started by having everybody that's on the line post up in the chat where you're tuning in from. We like to see the different parts of Arizona where we have people tuning in from. So we've got Don from Phoenix, Camp Verde, Phoenix, Casa Grande, Chandler, Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe, Kingman, Maricopa, Flagstaff, Chandler, Sierra Vista, Glendale, Mesa, Phoenix, Page. All right, we are covering from north to south, east to west. We got people from all over the state, so thank you for joining us. Again, if you didn't post up, please post in the chat where you're tuning in from. We like to see that. Even if you're from out of state, we like to see if you're from out of state joining us. But as we get started, one of the things we like to do if you're new is we'd like to thank all of our community partners. We cannot do these webinars without their time, their effort, and their expertise. They provide all the expert content in these, so you don't have to listen to me for an hour every week. Those that are new to the Small Business Bootcamp, it is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow. And it's a webinar that we host every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10. We also, as part of this program, do special session webinars that may not be on Tuesday, maybe on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And we also do some workshops, and we'll talk about those here in a bit. But the small business, the content library, the content library is where we house all of our recorded sessions. So we record all of our webinars and many of our workshops, and we post them in the content library so that if you can't make it live, you can go back later and review all the information and take advantage of that webinar, that class. That's a great resource, and there's no cost to access it as well. Also, the ACA has a number of other programs to support small businesses. We have our Career Readiness Credential, the Arizona Innovation Challenge, Arizona MEP for our manufacturers, the Arizona State Trade Expansion Program for those businesses that want to export their goods and services, Arizona at Work. It's not just a place to go find work, but they work with employers and to help support employer needs as well. And then our small business services that I oversee here at the Commerce Authority. You can find all the ACA programs. You see the link down there at our website under the tab, the Programs tab. One of those programs that we have that I'd like to talk about is the Small Business Checklist. You can scan that QR code to go straight to it. But it is an online interactive tool that's designed to help entrepreneurs understand the licensing, registration, and compliance needs at the local, state, and federal levels. When you're starting a business or expanding to new areas, sometimes you may need a business license or may need to register something, and this checklist will help you identify those needs and requirements. And it's a great resource, and again, there's no cost to access it. So to touch on some of our upcoming sessions, we've got a great lineup coming up this year. For the next 3 weeks, we've got Motivate Your Prospects to Take Action with Persuasive Language. In other words, how to use the right language to land that sale. As I mentioned, we've done a lot of marketing to kick the year off, and you can market all you want, but if you can't land the sale, then that marketing didn't do you any good. So we want to help with that. And then on the 13th is your growth formula, getting from vision to execution within your business and your leadership team. So it's an exciting one there. And then we have one of our reoccurring that we love to do because it changes every so often, but it's how to avoid the top 10 legal mistakes that can destroy your business. That's with our friends of the law firm Snell and Wilmer. Brian Burt will be presenting that. Also coming up, we have some of those workshops that I mentioned. On Thursday of this week, on February 1st, we have a lunch and learn with the IRS on how to avoiding the top tax mistakes that small businesses make. So that will be recorded. It's an online lunch and learn. So bring your lunch and tune in. And then on Wednesday, February 14th, is our workshop with the Phoenix Business Journal, Setting Up Your Business for Growth. This is an in-person only event, and we'll post the registration for both these workshops in the chat. But the Phoenix Business Journal, again, is in person only. And there is a slight fee to attend on that one, slight cost. But with that, we want to jump into today's session. Today, we've got Eloy Indigoyan, who's the CFO and head of e-commerce for Spread the Love Foods. He's been working really hard on this presentation. We've been chatting back and forth quite a bit, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a great presentation. We do want to note that we did schedule today for more than just the normal hour time frame. So we did schedule it till 10:30, give it an hour and a half. So if there's questions or we go over and we're not surprised, there's a lot of great content. As Eloy has been sharing this presentation with me. So we're super excited about it. And in that presentation, there's going to be some interaction that we'll use in the chat. So with that, it's real important that if you have questions, you place them in the Q&A, because we don't want those questions to get lost in that interaction in the chat. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Eloy and let Eloy take over.
Hey, how is everybody doing today? Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm going to be popping my screen up over here. Appreciate some of those webinars coming up. I think the one you mentioned on February 6th about persuasive language, that one's super important. I think I'm going to be signing up for that one because I've had some accounts over the last couple of months, especially the last couple of weeks. Still got to get them over the hump. And then the other one you mentioned at the end of February, sort of those potential legal mistakes. I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of a couple of things along that set of things too. So I think those are two really important ones that I'm going to be hopping on. So appreciate the introduction, Robert, and appreciate the opportunity, Arizona Commerce Authority. My presentation today is going to be Small Business, Big Impact, a blueprint for e-commerce marketplace success. So again, just a huge thank you to the Arizona Commerce Authority for this opportunity. If there are any other webinars that some people would like to sort of jump into, whether it's the small business services one, the boot camps one, or the digital academy as well too, sort of on the marketing end of things, as I'll talk a little bit about social media, but not really jump too much into it. You're able to look through some of those presentations at azcommerce.com. So jumping into the presentation today. So I'm going to give you a pretty high level overview of e-commerce, just sort of a little bit more about my background, a little bit about the different marketplaces that are out there, how to choose the right one, sort of some of the pros and cons, jump into some basic principles, and then really talk a bit about how do you optimize your own catalog for success, how do you set up, how do you manage that store, and then some critical extras, like I was talking about sort of earlier on. So jumping into executive summary, very high level, the digital landscape has evolved quite dramatically, more so since the COVID pandemic. So let's say 2020 to 2024. Obviously, there were a lot of people shopping online prior to 2020, but that adoption was really driven by the COVID pandemic, right? Since 2022, let's call it, when the pandemic sort of slowed down a bit and sort of has since waned more recently over the last 12 to 18 months, some of those online sales have gone back into the store, right? But there is still a large percentage of profitable revenue growth opportunity. There is still a large percentage of customers who prefer shopping online. And then there's still a lot of those customers who may have gone back into the store, but are now shopping in a more digitally savvy way where you're price checking, you're attribute checking, as I like to call it. I find myself going to the grocery store now and using the online app that the grocery store provides, checking for coupons, checking for specific specials or something along those lines. So we've developed a more digitally savvy consumer over the last 4 years. Large companies have specifically taken advantage of that. They were sort of a little bit slow movers, I would say, prior to that, where they were really just trying to drive revenue and drive traffic to store level. But as the pandemic accelerated that digital adoption for people in the past who weren't really super comfortable buying groceries online, for example, that sort of changed overnight, right? So that market in particular, the e-commerce market in particular, continues to set new records regardless of this sort of new normal that has been developed. So I highlighted four specific sort of holidays, I guess, if you want to call it, from an e-commerce side of things to show how the growth continues to be there. And these numbers are 2023 numbers, so comparing them to 2022 numbers. I'm still expecting all four of these to continue to grow over the next 5 years. That's sort of my own personal prediction. But I just sort of want to ask and just sort of have this conversation amongst yourselves, sort of in the chat. How many of you have been to a store in the last 12 months and you are using your phone, more pronounced, not to look at Instagram, not to text friends or something along those lines, but to really adopt a more digitally focused mindset where you're becoming a more savvy consumer. And then sometimes when I do even go to the stores and the products are out of stock, I'll just buy that product online and then have it shipped to my house. So just sort of talk amongst yourself in that chat area, but just sort of how many of us are actually going to the store nowadays? Whereas, again, we're getting out of the house quite a bit more, as evidenced by some of the travel numbers, but the online numbers continue to grow. So the four holidays I took out from a growth side of things: Prime Day, which is an Amazon created holiday, right? Amazon didn't have enough of the market share, sarcastically, obviously, I'm saying that. They wanted to do a holiday shopping in the summertime. So Prime Day itself, which takes place in July, typically that first or second or third week in July, it's sort of an unknown of when it's going to happen, and then Amazon announces it. They want to get they want to get the most public relations out of it, so they don't tell anybody when it's going to happen, but everybody sort of chatters about it in e-commerce, sort of networking events and things like that I've gone to in the past, where it's like, when do you think Prime Day is going to happen? Typically that July 12th to the 14th range. So that one in particular this past year experienced significant growth from the year prior. It was the biggest Prime Day ever. As Amazon continues to take more and more of our wallets, whether it's from Amazon Prime, whether it's on the healthcare side of things, I know they're making a big push, whether it's on the television side of things with their new sports contracts that they're doing, expect that holiday to become more and more important. Obviously, the traditional ones, the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday, so from a traditional retailer side of things, obviously those holidays have always been massive for them and always helped them just generate, a significant amount of foot traffic. But I included November 1st to the 27th, because I don't know if for you guys, but it seemed like the holidays come earlier and earlier every year. But this year in particular, and I was sort of seeing it even as early as like mid-September to October, there was a big push from Halloween side of things, I feel. But then as soon as that Halloween was over, I remember like it felt like sort of that afternoon of October 31, as I was, out trick-or-treating with my son, all of a sudden you start seeing Christmas stuff pop up and holiday stuff pop up. So we're sort of skipping that Thanksgiving holiday, and really jumping into the holiday shopping season earlier and earlier. And that, again, evidenced by that 7.3% growth rate from November 1st to the 27th of 2022 to November 1st to the 27th of 2023. And again, with this adoption of always being available, because all of us are typically in front of our phones for a significant period of time or in front of our computers at work, and so on and so forth. So from a customer end of things, you're always able to get in front of them. So why only focus on a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? Why only focus on, a summertime holiday in July? So there are all these new opportunities out there, in my opinion, from a growth standpoint, and not just having the advantage of, the large businesses taking advantage of these specific growth opportunities. These growth opportunities are now available for small businesses like Spread the Love, the brand that I work for now, like some of the brands I've consulted for in the past. E-commerce, in my opinion, has leveled the playing field. If I walk into a grocery store, if I walk into a Costco, if I walk into any other store, typically the brands at the front are the ones that wrote the largest check, right? And they've provided the most from an advertising side of things or from a coupon side of things. So the fact that e-commerce has come about, the fact that e-commerce has been adopted more significantly over the last 4 years and will continue to be adopted as generations continue to evolve and become more tech savvy and more mobile driven. I expect this trend to continue, and I expect the opportunity to be there for the small business, for the mid-sized business, to be able to drive profitable revenue growth. That's going to be, a key tenet of this conversation. Is going to be around how do you drive profitable revenue growth? Yes, most people nowadays, anybody can sort of create a website on Shopify. Anybody can create an account on Amazon, be a reseller, and so on and so forth. But it's not just about volume anymore. And as interest rates have risen and as inflation has peaked its ugly head into the conversation, and as marketplace fees have gone up, right, more people are focused on how do I drive profitable revenue? So as I jump into the conversation a little bit more, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm based here in Arizona. As Robert mentioned before, I work for Spread the Love. So what is Spread the Love? We are a organic nut butter supplier. We do some non-organic products. We do an almond butter. We do a cashew butter. We do some raspberry jam, marionberry jam as well. I have a unique background, I like to tell people. So earlier in my career, I was a finance accounting person working on Wall Street on the East Coast. Then I moved out to California. First, I was in San Diego for a little bit. Then I went up to Los Angeles for a bit to go to graduate school at the University of Southern California. But I always had this mindset of, finance and accounting first, build those foundational skills, and then take them into something else, whether it was marketing for e-commerce, which is what I focused on, or whether it was just sort of general sales. So I have this unique background in that I'm able to really focus on what our margins are, really get a good understanding of what our product catalog is from a Spread the Love side of things. We do about half of our business online. So think Amazon, think Walmart, think spreadthelovefoods.com, think some of our Instagram and Facebook pages, and so on and so forth. The other half of our business is food service. So think direct to, large businesses, mid-sized businesses, smoothie bars, restaurants, hotels, sports teams has been a big area of growth for us, in the last couple of years in particular. But we were heavy food service pre-pandemic. We did have an Amazon presence. It was definitely growing, but I would say at maybe like a 10 or 15% clip year over year. But then all of a sudden, pandemic comes, all of our food service basically goes to zero. And we were able to pivot pretty quickly because we already had inventory at Amazon. We already had inventory on our website, and we were really able to focus more on that e-commerce side of things. So we had already developed a store. We had already developed a brand page previously. So we weren't necessarily scrambling that much during the pandemic. We were scrambling for a couple other things from an inventory standpoint. But that being said, we were already in the place where the customers were flocking to. So it was really about managing these new customers that we were having and then trying to predict when the pandemic slowed down, how do we get to keep these new customers that we have? And how do we change somebody from buying a typical Jif peanut butter or a Skippy peanut butter at let's say a $5 to $6 price point to trading up to an organic option? Why? Because that was the only thing that was in stock on Amazon, because those other two suppliers didn't plan accordingly, and we had enough inventory to serve that customer at that time frame. But how do we keep that customer, and how do we convert that customer from a longer term standpoint, and how do we make sure they stay loyal to us, whether it's on Amazon or Walmart or spreadthelovefoods.com? So that was the challenge, I would say, over the last 2 years. As I mentioned before, I do this as well, just sort of general e-commerce strategist for consumer-facing brands. So I put a couple other brands down there that I've sort of helped support, either from an e-commerce side of things or from a product roadmap or product development side of things, either within the accounting function or the finance function. I think it's important to develop internal talent on your team when you're developing an e-commerce facing brand, or you're trying to, re-establish and re-engage an existing brand on an e-commerce platform. I think it's important to have that geographic diversity as well too. So I highlighted my undergraduate degree, which was on the East Coast at the Smith School, and then I highlighted my graduate degree down there, which was on the West Coast, over in University of Southern California in LA, and now I'm in Arizona, right? So when we're selling products online, we're not just selling to people in Arizona. I'm not just selling to people in New York. I'm not just selling to people in Los Angeles. I'm selling to people in Kentucky. I'm selling to people in Chicago. I'm selling to people in, Minnesota, and so on and so forth, which I think is important because you're selling to people who might not necessarily have access to certain stores that most of us in larger cities have access to. So you need to know how to tell your brand story. And I think that's super important from developing that geographic diversity internally in your team, because what makes e-commerce, in my opinion, so amazing is that, again, it levels that playing field. So somebody who perhaps lives, I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere, but perhaps lives in a remote location can actually access our product and can actually, get in touch with us and have conversations with us. So explaining your product attributes to those customers is extremely important, and not just explaining the attributes that you would explain to somebody based in Phoenix or based in Los Angeles, and so on and so forth. As I mentioned before, from an e-commerce standpoint, there are no experts in my opinion because it's changing so rapidly. I myself am a lifelong learner. Amazon today, the Amazon Seller Central platform, which I'll jump into in a couple of slides, is not the same as when I created our Spread the Love account in 2017. Right? It has changed dramatically, and it will continue to change dramatically over the next couple of years as the Amazon platform evolves. I learned a lot of this by just jumping into the platform, trying new things, and really seeing what worked and what didn't work, taking notes, and then modifying. Nowadays, there are a ton more tools. There are people on YouTube who will call themselves experts. There are people on all these other social media platforms that'll call themselves experts. I would say take that all with a grain of salt, right? You really want to get an understanding of what brands the person or people or agency or whatever has worked on. But then you really want to get an understanding of, do they know your product? Do they know your margins? Do they know how to market your product? And so on and so forth. And how quickly will they stick with some of the updates and some of the trends that are going in one direction? Because again, Amazon today is not the same as when I started, and same thing with Walmart as they continue to evolve their seller platform. I'm extremely passionate about this topic. Hopefully you can hear that in my voice. Hopefully that'll come across in these presentations. So if anybody has any sort of general questions, I'll put my contact information at the end, but feel free to reach out to me. I love speaking about all things e-commerce. I'll be speaking at an event, which I'll mention at the end as well, over in Phoenix in mid-February, and I have some free tickets to that as well too. So I'd love to have some of you join me as well. So jumping into e-commerce marketplaces, right? I highlight three here, which I'm going to talk through in my presentation. Walmart. I'm going to jump on Walmart at first. So we all know Walmart as the general retail store, right? Walmart has been evolving as they've seen the success that Amazon has had with Amazon Seller Central. They've seen the penetration that Amazon has developed from a customer side of things, whether it's with Amazon Prime, whether it's with that healthcare function as well too. Walmart has specifically driven a lot of investment into their online platform, whether it's the Walmart Plus app, whether it's the Walmart Seller Central platform, which basically, if you're a brand, you can create a Walmart product page, ship inventory to Walmart, and then sort of manage that listing on your own, and then develop those sales, develop that sales history, and then potentially, when Walmart does their open call process, present to their purchasers or whoever is doing those purchasing decisions, and really they have a better understanding of if your product is selling on their platform or not. So Walmart has invested quite heavily in this, and they continue to push Amazon, in my opinion. Amazon, obviously the number one e-commerce marketplace here in the United States, whether it's for business to consumer, whether it's for business to business accounts as well too, or just general consumer to consumer with the third-party sellers that they have. One thing I want to call out, Amazon in particular. So if you have a business, if you're online right now and you have a business that's business to business, you are able to still sell on the Walmart platform. Amazon has been developing its business capabilities more so in the last 12 to 18 months to really take market share from some of these other business to business type online marketplaces, because they're saying, hey, if you have a small business, a mid-sized business, they're even going after larger businesses as well too. Why shouldn't you be buying your printer ink on Walmart, but in bulk quantities? Why shouldn't you be buying stuff for your supply room in bulk quantities on the Amazon platform? So that's one area where in the beginning, as I mentioned before, from a spread the love side of things, we were mainly focused on business to consumer, right? We were the business, we were just trying to sell to individual consumers who wanted our, great, tasty organic peanut butter, raspberry jam, and so on and so forth. But as we've evolved on the platform, we've actually converted a significant number of larger business accounts who perhaps would have found us on the platform or perhaps would not have found us on the platform. But the fact that they're actually developing in and honing in on some of these attributes, whether it's female owned, whether it's USA based small business, things like that, as supplier mandates come down the pipeline, the Amazon platform, in my opinion, is a great place to sort of expand and grow your network from that end of things. TikTok Shop, relatively new platform, launched in just sort of like sampling mode almost for a select few people last year. I want to say like last spring was when we sort of jumped on it a bit. You definitely need to have a unique skill set and to sort of develop the content. But now TikTok sees the Amazon success, sees the Walmart success, and says, hey, we're driving a lot of traffic to your website. Why don't we actually create a shop? And why don't we jump in there and sort of take some of that wallet share instead of having to send somebody to one of your websites? So that's one that I'm going to touch on quite a bit. Again, I'm not going to touch on the social media aspect of things and the content development side of things, but I'm going to talk about sort of how their platform has been evolving and how I continue to see that one evolving over the next couple of years. So these platforms significantly impact the economy by enabling businesses of all sizes to participate. As I mentioned before, one of the best things, I think, in my opinion, of the e-commerce landscape is, again, how it flattens the playing field and allows all of us market access. It allows extreme convenience for consumers, and then it sort of fosters that trust through secure transactions and customer reviews, customer feedback. All of us look at customer reviews. All of us take that into account. The Amazon platform specifically was very heavy review focused. I would say from like 2016 up until like, let's say mid 22 to 2023. They're trying to move away from that little by little because of all these controversies around customer reviews, people getting paid to review products, fake reviews, just it doesn't foster that trust. And I don't know if you've done a lot of Amazon shopping lately, but as I have, I'm noticing some of the Amazon product pages changing, and it's not necessarily always the same thing. So whereas in the past it would tell me you have 16,000 reviews if I was searching a product, nowadays it's only going to tell me this product has 4.7 out of 5 stars. So I know they're testing quite a bit as far as customer reviews and sort of where that happy medium lies. Some of these reviews are 5 years old, 3 years old, 7 years old, things like that. And perhaps a product maybe has a 4.7 review, but it hasn't been reviewed in, maybe 6 months or 12 months or something along those lines. So Walmart is not as review heavy. And I think it's because they're really developing their platform over the last couple of years, and they're seeing some of the mistakes that Amazon actually made. So how would you choose what the right marketplace is to go into? A lot of the conversations I have with small business owners are just sort of like explaining what these marketplaces are. And then you jump into does this fit where we're going from a business side of things? Does this fit our pricing model? Does this fit how I can create content around this? Are we trying to get into Walmart, longer term? So then again, I'd want to create that sales history. In my opinion, it's hard to do all three at once. Some people come to me and say, hey, I want to be on every platform. I want to do this all at once. And I'm going to have one person internally, be the e-commerce manager, right? That means they're managing product pages, they're managing listings, they're managing customer complaints, they're managing just sort of that general feedback, they're managing shipping, going from one warehouse to another. and all that kind of stuff. I would say that that doesn't really set you up for the best success. If you have a small team like Spread the Love, if you have a small team or a small business, for example, it really is helpful to hone in on one of these, become an expert in one of these specific marketplaces, jump into it, really get a good understanding of it, become that expert, become that, have a solid understanding of your pricing structure, have a solid understanding of, is there somebody selling my product already on this platform? Is there a third party that I'm selling to from a wholesale side of things? Is somebody coming into my store, buying things when they're on sale and then reselling it online? I've seen that happen quite a bit as well too. Um, so it's really helpful to choose the right marketplace and to have that internal expert as well too. Amazon, obviously, broad appeal across product categories, the everywhere store, right? Highly competitive, requiring effective SEO and marketing strategies. I'm not going to dive into too much because the marketing could be a conversation in and of itself. But that being said, it is extremely important to have that effective SEO, that search engine optimization, and those marketing strategies. Amazon is using artificial intelligence now to create more effective product listings, and they're taking out a lot of the junk that was developed over the last couple of years, and they're really trying to weed out some of the sellers that are on the platform that maybe shouldn't be selling on the platform. It is crowded though. I won't lie to you. Amazon is extremely crowded in 2024. And it's gotten way more expensive from a marketplace fee side of things, which I'll jump into in a little bit as well, and also from an online advertising side of things as well. One thing though you can't argue with Amazon though, it's going to give you very detailed on the analytics side of things. So I'm going to know who my customers are. I'm going to know their household income. I'm going to know where they are from a geography standpoint. I'm going to know if my advertising is successful or not, right? And with those increased marketplace fees come opportunity for support, right? There are Amazon, some Seller Central, if that's the avenue that you go down. There are a lot of strong support networks. There's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of advertising support as well too. They will give you an account in an Amazon account manager from an advertising end to help you develop your first couple of advertising ads as well too, which is very helpful if you don't really have a strong understanding of it. So in my opinion, excuse me, it's still the one that has the widest market access and is purely online, right? But at the end of the day, it is getting crowded. So if you are going to push into that specific category or that specific marketplace, excuse me, it's one that you really want to go through with a strong plan, a strong roadmap, and a strong understanding of your margins. As I shift to Walmart, most people still say it's ideal for sellers targeting a more value conscious demographic in the United States. Some would argue that is shifting. You go into a Walmart today, you're going to see a significant more amount of organic, USDA organic options, vegan options, gluten-free options on the food end of things. You'll see a wide array of different products that aren't just the cheapest version, right? Back in the day, you might have walked into a Walmart and said, okay, I just need this, or this, and I want to get it at the most cost-effective way. And that's still going to be the case, but from a value standpoint, I believe some of that has shifted. Obviously, strong in general merchandising, there is lower competition on the Walmart Seller Central platform compared to Amazon. That will change in the next 6 months. That will change in the next 12 months as more people become attuned to, hey, I can have a Walmart account on the seller side of things. So it does allow you to have more visibility for new sellers. I could tell you internally at Spread the Love, Walmart has been a channel that we've been prioritizing, I would say, over the last 6 to 10 months. We've seen significant growth in this specific platform. We are not in Walmart stores, though, right? Our longer term plan, though, is to be in a Walmart store at some point. I think every small business's dream is to be in Walmart and to say sort of you made it, right? Every entrepreneur's dream is to be able to pitch, a Walmart purchaser, Walmart procurement team, and sort of pitch them our value added product, and then be in, either a subset of stores or all the stores. That could change people's lives. I'm confident that if I go to the Walmart open call process over the next, let's say year and a half to 2 years, and I come with success story of me selling Spread the Love products on Walmart Seller Central or Walmart.com from the last 12 to 18 months and show that, hey, I was already able to develop this following. I was able to develop effective advertising solutions. I was able to generate sales growth month over month, year over year in a profitable manner without your help, right? Imagine what we could do from a store level side of things. So if on your radar is to get into a larger big box retailer, Walmart is a great one, in my opinion, because again, they're investing heavily into that seller central platform. And that's one area of growth from a spread the love side of things. Whereas Amazon, it's still growing, but it's slowed down, relatively speaking. But from a Walmart end of things, you still have a really strong opportunity to grow there. And again, less competition when compared to Amazon. The third one is TikTok Shop. So I mentioned it earlier. TikTok continues to be this controversial social media app, obviously short form content, but it's perfect for brands aiming to engage with a younger trend driven audience. So highly effective, as I call out here, for lifestyle, beauty, and fashion products. And from a TikTok side of things, they are investing heavily in this platform too. So they need to drive user adoption, right? So they will offer specific sales that they will fund. They've funded some of our spread the love sales upwards of 30% off to 40% off, where it's no cost to spread the love. It's more of a cost to the TikTok platform. Some of those have gone away and some of those will evolve over time, but just the general cost to acquire new customers on a platform like TikTok, they're going to be funding a lot of that because they need people to adopt and to get comfortable with buying a product on the TikTok platform. And again, as I mentioned, more aiming at younger trend-driven audiences. But that being said, the fact that it integrates with social media marketing and e-commerce, where you can leverage a lot of viral content, I would say it's not necessarily just a specific younger trend-driven audience. It could be a wider array of audiences during specific events, such as the Super Bowl, such as Valentine's Day. I know they're doing a big push for that, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of general TikTok content around Valentine's Day, and it doesn't have to just be focused on this younger, audience. It could be a middle-aged audience. It could be an older audience, and so on and so forth. But you're really able to leverage viral content and then create that shop now portion of the page. Whereas if you have a video go viral in the past, whether you're getting 3 million views, 5 million views, 50 million views, how do you actually track that? How do you convert that? How do you make that a profitable sale, right? And a lot of the times from a marketing end of things, they just say, well, awareness. Well, awareness doesn't pay the bills, right? You really need to have a better understanding of how can I convert this into an actual sale. And the fact that TikTok Shop now has on the video, as long as you set it up the right way, you can actually add your products on videos. And then if that video goes viral, your video will have gone viral, but then there will have also been an opportunity for somebody to purchase your product on that video with 1 or 2 clicks. So not just generating awareness anymore, but also generating sales as well too. I'm going to try to open the chat here real quick to see if I could see if we have any question. If your brand is premium, do you suggest marketing on TikTok as opposed to Amazon and Walmart? I would say it depends on what you're selling. If it's food, I would say, in my experience, I think marketing on Amazon is the best for food, just purely for people who are going to be shipping from Amazon to the person's house. If you have a food product that is actually in the Amazon stores, or excuse me, in the Walmart stores, that could do quite well as well too. So it really depends on the product category. Which marketplace is best suited for AZ only commerce or regional only commerce? You can actually target from a TikTok advertising side of things. You can actually target specific areas. So that one might be the best. And then you could also use hashtags when you're developing your content on TikTok, hashtag Arizona, hashtag Phoenix, hashtag Scottsdale, where then people will be searching for that. So that one might be the best suited marketplace. Yeah, so food. So as I was mentioning before too, I'd say Amazon does a great job of allowing the brand owner to create and curate a lot of the content. So as the Spread the Love brand owner, we own the Amazon.com/spread the love product page, right? So then I'm able to curate all that, obviously with Amazon's support of sort of just like fragmenting parts of the website, but I'm able to curate a lot of that content around there as well too. So I think it's super important from that side of things. So jumping into the next slide. So benefits and challenges. So Obviously, as I talked a lot about wide customer reach, that in my opinion is the number one, opportunity. The fact that I could reach all of these customers without having to leave my office, let's call it. Dynamic marketing costs. I set the marketing costs. Spread the Love has been in grocery stores before, right? We did okay. Didn't do great, didn't do poorly. Why? Because I couldn't commit to certain marketing spend levels that they said you need to commit to. So if I were to go into Sprouts, for example, I need to give them free fills. I need to give them certain ad budget. I need to support it. But I can't always support it from a cash flow side of things because I'm a small business, right? And I need to see, I don't want to say immediate results, but I need to see results in the first 1 to 3 weeks. And the best part about Amazon and some of these e-commerce marketplaces is I can actually select my keywords. So I know when somebody's going on Walmart searching for organic peanut butter, they have the intent to buy organic peanut butter, right? Because why else are you going to Walmart? For other platforms, such as social media platforms, they might be just searching for general understanding of the brand and so on and so forth. But for an Amazon or a Walmart, I know when somebody types in organic peanut butter or unsalted almond butter or cashew butter, for example, they have that intent to purchase. So I can increase my marketing costs as I see fit, or I can lower my marketing costs as I see fit too. So that's why I mentioned that dynamic marketing costs. Obviously, they're relatively easy to enter. As mentioned before on Amazon side of things, is that there are a wide array of competition now, and it just seems crowded from an Amazon standpoint. Walmart, not as crowded. That customer trust. Obviously, customers trust Amazon now with a ton of information. And as I mentioned before, they're really making the strong healthcare push, which I don't know if you've seen the ads here in Arizona. I'm driving on the freeway. But the fact that we're trusting them now with some of our healthcare information, that is significant from a, do people trust spreadthelovefoods.com more, or people trust amazon.com/spreadthelove, right? I'm doing my best to make people trust spreadthelovefoods.com, but more people trust amazon.com spread the love /spread the love. And the fact that we can market that at trade shows. I can market that at networking events. I can market that anytime I'm trying to sell to a wholesale account too. I say, hey, if you want to see my Amazon page and see what 4,000 people are saying about our product, which most of which are good, right? That really helps from a sales end of things, developing that customer trust. Where the cons are is that, as I mentioned before, high competition, marketplace fees. That's one area that has been increasing quite significantly, I would say, as the cost of doing business has increased for all of us. Marketplace fees have gone up. On the Amazon side of things in particular, Walmart has definitely been relatively comparable to Amazon. So they kind of go back and forth a little bit. They're pretty much equal, I would say, depending on what you're selling. Each category has its own specific fees. So I'll jump into that a little bit at the end as well. Customer loyalty. I used to think a lot more customers were loyal to a specific platform, whether it was Amazon, whether it was Walmart. Now I'm seeing also amongst myself, wherever I can get the product the fastest, most of the time is the platform that I'll be loyal to. Sometimes I'll go directly to the website. So if I'm on Amazon, for example, and their receiving time is, a week or two for this specific nut butter, let's say, for example, that I'm searching for, and then I go to spreadthelovefoods.com directly, it's going to ship out tomorrow and I'll get it by Thursday, let's say. So that really that customer loyalty thing, which, trust and loyalty aren't the same thing, as we know that from our personal lives as well. And same thing from a small business side of things. Last thing, dependence on platform rules. This is one thing that a lot of people during COVID were not necessarily aware of. COVID caused a lot of people to drive onto the Amazon platform, create an Amazon account, and start selling their products on Amazon because their traditional retail stores were closed. Unfortunately, Amazon wasn't able to handle all of that specific influx. They needed to prioritize, I don't want to call it higher value items, but more important items like food, like paper towels, like masks, so on and so forth for specific healthcare workers. If you were selling in the food category previously, anybody could sell, right? You didn't need to be in a specific category or whatever. It was just Amazon.com. And then during COVID, I want to say for about 6 to 12 months even, they were specifically targeting these higher moving items and more important items according to Amazon. So you were dependent on that rule on the platform. Spread the Love was in the food category. So we were okay, but I had other businesses that I had been consulting with, or other businesses within my network that I'm friends with, that all of a sudden lost access to the Amazon channel. So that was really an eye-opening experience, I want to say, and really an understanding of don't put too many eggs in one basket. That's also a reason why we've decided to prioritize Walmart internally here at Spread the Love from last year into 2024, because we can't be as highly dependent on the Amazon platform as we have been in the past. Just because, again, those platform rules can change. Unfortunately, we don't have, any internal contacts at Amazon sort of telling us what's going to be coming down the pipeline. And again, I don't foresee any type of, pandemic happening again or anything along those lines, any sort of black swan event. But those platform rules are a very important thing to just be aware of, because if you shipped in a lot of inventory and then 2 weeks later Amazon sort of closes and says, hey, we're only taking these, more important, in quote, items, your inventory's stuck, and then it's going to take you a while to get it back. So that's one thing that I want to touch on from a benefits and challenges side of things. I see a couple more things in the chat. What are my thoughts on Shopify? Okay, so Spread the Love has a Shopify page. We're on spreadthelovefoods.com. This could also be spoken about with reference to basic principles of online selling. Shopify is great, right? Shopify is an incredible platform that you're able to develop your store on, and that you're able to generate new customers, generate revenue. And Shopify is basically a blank canvas that you're able to sell whatever you want on, pretty much, as long as you have a brand. Or if you're a third-party seller too, you can sort of create a reselling account. The negative, or I guess the con, I would say, with Shopify is that how do you drive that traffic, right? The fact that Amazon is already driving traffic to the page, the fact that people are already going to Walmart, the fact that people are already discovering product on social medias like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, they're already driving that traffic there. So you're paying for, those marketplace fees, you're paying for some of that traffic. In my opinion, it's appropriate to do an Amazon and a Shopify store at the same time. It's appropriate to do a Shopify store and Walmart, or Shopify and any other sort of e-commerce marketplace at the same time. In my experience, I've never seen a brand outperform on Shopify versus outperforming on Walmart, as long as the investment was equal, right? Obviously, you can invest a ton of money in online advertising to drive traffic to your website. But if somebody reposted who has 2 million followers, can you handle that sort of order flow? I know Amazon can, right? As long as the inventory is there. Are your product titles, are your product descriptions, are your images high quality? Do you have a consistent look across your brand on the Shopify end of things as on the Amazon end of things? So to sort of circle back to that point, Shopify is great, and it's something I would be doing in concert with any other e-commerce marketplace that you're selling. It's something Spread the Love has been doing since the very beginning of time. But we've seen a trickle-down effect of our Amazon customers, our smart Amazon customers, and our savvy Amazon customers coming to our Shopify page, our spreadthelovefoods.com page. Why? Because we offer a lower price, right? And we offer the best opportunity to get the freshest inventory, right? Why? Because we're shipping directly from our production supplier, our production manufacturing facility right down. Whereas in Amazon, it's going to take a little while to get from one place to another. They might move stuff around from a warehouse side of things, and it's not going to be the cheapest option because Amazon charges me these marketplace fees, like I was mentioning before. So if you are setting up a Shopify store, or if you're setting up an Amazon store or a Walmart store, I think these basic principles, sort of getting that listing right, getting that pricing right, and getting that trust right. So I mentioned before the trust factor. I'm going to skip the pricing real quick and sort of jump into the trust factor. So clearly state your shipping and return and refund policies. We've got so many issues over this. I sell food, right? Majority of my products are either consumer facing, typically whether it's skincare, whether it's food, something along those lines. You can't return an open jar of peanut butter, right? So if you open it and you don't like it, you can't return that, right? You can call me and ask me for a refund and we'll talk about it. And, it's sort of on a case by case basis. But at the same time, having those policies clearly stated on your website, that's something that if you only purely have a Shopify store, you're going to have to be handling that customer service end of things. Whereas if you sell on Amazon or Walmart, they take care of that for you. And those refund policies are clearly stated as well too. That trust factor, like I mentioned before, encourage satisfied customers to leave positive reviews. That's a good thing. If you have a Shopify page and you have product feedback, you manage that, right? So you're seeing the negative and you're seeing the positive. You're seeing who left that feedback. One of the most frustrating parts about Amazon and some of Walmart as well too is you can't communicate with the customers who've left some of the negative feedback, where they might be leaving you feedback that's actually not even true, which I've had happen before too, and you can't do anything about it. Your hands are tied. So you kind of just have to chalk it up as, okay, I got 100 pieces of feedback, 20 of them were negative, 80 of them were positive. Obviously look at the negative feedback, do your best to incorporate some of that negative feedback into your product descriptions, into your product titles, into your product images. But at the same time, make sure you look at those positive feedbacks too, because maybe you want to reiterate some of those attributes as well from the positive review side of things. Ensure products are correctly categorized for easier discovery by potential customers. I can't tell you how important that one is too. When you're setting up your Amazon product page, you're able to put it in a specific category. A lot of people say, oh, I want to drive, to a specific high traffic category. But if your product is kind of like a supplementary product to that catalog, probably not the best way to drive that traffic, because then people are going to be looking at top sellers in that category and maybe see your product and then maybe get confused. Now to jump into pricing. So one thing I recommend to people to do all the time, whether or not they work with me, is to really go into Amazon, go into Walmart, go into some of the social channels, see what people are saying about your product right now. See if somebody's actually selling your product. We've had some resellers for Spread the Love. I've had some resellers when I've been at other companies in the past. See what they're charging for my products. See if they have any customer feedback. See where they're getting my product from. Right, seeing if they're even profitable or not. Sometimes these brands that are selling our products, the third party ones, actually aren't even profitable. So it's interesting to see that from a pricing standpoint. That allows us to sort of, start that pricing conversation internally, and then consider any seasonal changes. I mentioned before Valentine's Day is coming up. I mentioned before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, any specific sales trends from a Spread the Love side of things and from a general like food and consumer end of things. Unless you're really in like the electronics category, I haven't seen too many general food brands that I've worked with be successful from November 1 to, I'd say, like the week before Christmas. So like the 15th, let's say. It's mainly because I think people are just searching for other types of product. People are searching for gifts, right? And they're not searching for healthy peanut butter. Or they're not searching for, specific skincare type products. That's sort of the time of year where people take off from their traditional healthcare regimen, I would say. But we do tend to see things pick up sort of that last week of the year. And then all of a sudden, January is always our craziest month, which continues to be that way right now. Thankfully, it's the longest month as well, too. I get my full 31 days there. So I really get to have a good understanding of my sales trends as well. And then see what my competition is doing. Again, that's, in my opinion, one of the best things about e-commerce is that I could see what everybody else is doing. I could see who's investing in sponsored advertising for my specific keywords. You'd be surprised if you type in your brand name, there are going to be other brands there on Amazon or Walmart or other platforms that are actually jumping in there and buying your keywords up and saying, whereas you might not see yourself as competitors because they're so much bigger. And I see this with Jif and Skippy quite a bit, where we obviously sell similar products, but ours is vegan, gluten-free, no palm oil, no GMOs. And some of our products are organic, as I mentioned before, and significantly higher price, but they'll still buy our keywords every once in a while and compete. So it's always interesting to sort of see that end of things and to really get a good feel for what other people are charging for your product or similar products. I see a couple of Q&A. So what is a healthy cart size? Depends on the platform. So Spread the Love, our average order value is typically between 50 to 75 dollars on our website, which is pretty high, but I don't give you free shipping until you hit a certain dollar amount, which we've since had to increase because our shipping costs have increased quite dramatically and our fulfillment costs have increased quite dramatically. On Amazon, that average cart size is significantly lower. I'd say it's closer to $17 to $18. So again, Amazon provides them obviously the opportunity to ship Amazon Prime, so don't necessarily need to focus on having that average order value higher. But obviously, you always want to have an average order value to be higher. What do you recommend is a good range for add to cart conversion rate and rate from add to cart checkout? Depends on the category. I would say for us, it can hover anywhere between as low as like 1% to as high as between like 5 and 7. It really depends on what category you're selling in, how much money you're paying for that keyword. So if I'm paying like, 13 or $14 for a keyword, but then the checkout rate, like the add to cart rate, is significantly higher. Like, is that worth it to sell a jar of peanut butter for $14.99? Like, I might not be making money on that, right? So it kind of just depends on the specific category, I would say. And as you're having that pricing conversation, really have a good internal discussion and a healthy discussion around, should we sell 1 pack? Should we sell 3 packs? Should we sell 6 packs only? Right? If you have a brand that's already established, I've seen a lot of them jump into just saying, hey, I'm only going to sell a 6 pack of my product because that's the only way I'm going to be making money on this platform. I can't lose money every time. If you have a newer or a challenger brand like Spread the Love, who's challenging some of these incumbents, I needed people to just try the product in the first place. They weren't going to spend $73.99 on a 6 pack of peanut butter that they've never had before. So the fact that we're able to really have those smaller jars or that smaller format option and really only sell some of the 1 packs. We definitely don't make as much money on the 1 packs as we do on the 6s or the 40 packs. We even start including some of the 40 packs as well too. But the fact that we're generating, awareness for our brand, we're generating customers, and we're generating new sales, right? So obviously, a lot of the online marketers are going to sell you on that awareness factor. Oh, millions of people, viewed your product. It's like, yes, but how many people are actually going to try my product and leave feedback and sort of have that conversation? So you really need to touch upon the pricing end of things there as well. So I'm going to jump over to the next slide. Excuse me. Optimizing your catalog for e-commerce success. So get an understanding. The first step on sort of the roadmap that I like to develop for brands that I work with is sort of what's compatible in my current catalog from a margin standpoint. Again, I mentioned before that 1 pack, 3 pack, 6 pack from a Spread the Love side of things. In the beginning, we were only selling 1 packs. We didn't even think of selling 3 or 6s. And then as the margin started to get compressed with the increased marketplace fees and the increased advertising costs, we were like, well, why don't we sell 3 packs? Why don't we sell 6 packs? Why don't we sell 40 packs? Right. So I wish we would have had that conversation a little bit earlier, but it didn't really lend itself to that because we were able to make money selling a single jar. But as those margins have been compressed, that conversation has been way more important for us to have going forward. Historical sales analysis. So if you have a brand that has been selling, whether it's a traditional retail brand or whether it's a brand that you've been selling through farmers markets or just sort of, general fairs or general trade shows, there is sales analysis, right? What does that say when it comes to predicting future sales in that category, not in the e-commerce category? How confident are you in some of those sales at predicting future sales? So just getting an understanding of how strong your internal forecasting is, and then trying to copy and paste some of that over to the e-commerce side of things is extremely important. Cost benefit evaluation. How will the marketplace fees and advertising spend impact margins? So obviously I've been touching on this quite a bit. Operational readiness and scaling. So can you even handle, so somebody mentioned Shopify before, right? We at Spread the Love, we have our Shopify page set up, spreadthelovefoods.com. In the beginning, we were fulfilling all the orders from our small office in Los Angeles. Could we have handled, a massive influx of orders like we got during COVID in that tiny office? No, absolutely not. Right. But if we were stubborn in the beginning and said, oh, we want to do it all ourselves because we want to, have that sort of meticulous approach and really capture as much margin as possible, we would have left ourselves in a bad position to capture all that additional revenue. So thankfully, we did not do that, from a longer term standpoint. But early on, you do a lot of the stuff by yourself, and you really have to have a good internal conversation and a healthy conversation of, can I handle this from an operational structure, from a logistics standpoint? And is there somebody on my team who knows how to do this, who's an expert in this, who can manage the customer service end of things, and who could manage the sort of support end of things as well too going forward. So I think these things are four questions that will definitely drive a conversation internally to optimize your catalog to be successful on some of these marketplaces. So as I mentioned before, sort of how we set up and manage that store, I think throughout the presentation, I've gone to sort of the 1, 2, and the 3. Uploading documentation as Amazon has become more and more focused on weeding out some of these shady sellers or some of these, third parties, or just sort of getting rid of the fluff and the junk, kind of like spread the love. We got rid of the palm oil, right? So we are a pure play, natural nut butter. Amazon has done has really refocused its efforts on saying, hey, if you're selling products on our platform and you're making claims, you need to upload supporting documentation. And I know also that if you're starting from scratch now and you claim that you have a trademark, you claim that you're organic or vegan, or you claim that your product's made in the USA, you claim that you're a certified small business, you do need to upload a lot of that product documentation. It's helpful to have all that prior to actually, having a fulfillment path and setting an inventory and spending on marketing, or even thinking about marketing. Have all that documentation ready to go, because after you create your account, you're able to upload all that documentation and then hit the ground running. Step number 5, understanding your fulfillment path. I mentioned before, spread the love. We were doing everything from our office in Los Angeles, our tiny little office back there, back, let's say 4.5, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We realized that Amazon, Seller Central, Fulfillment by Amazon, Fulfillment by Walmart, these tools can help us scale quite dramatically. So we decided to lean into them and really upload a significant amount of inventory towards them. And then you list and optimize your products. And then you really jump into that marketing plan. And then number 8, in my opinion, is, just as important as number 4. If I send in 6 SKUs and my top 2 SKUs are all of a sudden selling out pretty quickly, I need to manage that inventory in a way where Amazon will punish you. Walmart will punish you. These marketplaces will punish you if you don't have inventory in stock. They have somebody coming to your storefront and wants to buy your product, and then all of a sudden you're out of stock, or they can't get it for 3 to 6 weeks, or what have you. So I've found it to be successful in that we typically, instead of sending in like one massive amount of inventory or one large shipment, every 2 months, we typically tend to send in smaller increments, smaller shipments in more frequently. That has been one way that we've been pretty successful in sort of managing that inventory. We've been out of stock of products, so I'll definitely say that we've been out of stock of some of our products in the last couple of years. But our number one hero product, the Naked Organic Peanut Butter, the Spread the Love Naked Organic Peanut Butter, we have never been out of stock of, right? And that's sort of the one thing. You go to Baskin Robbins, you expect them to have vanilla and chocolate ice cream. You go to the movie theater, you expect them to have popcorn, right? There's always going to be that one hero product that you have, from a business side of things, that the customer will expect to be there. And as long as you have an understanding of what that product is as you develop and hone in on your marketing plan and on your storefront, that's going to be one important thing to make sure that you always have inventory of that product in stock. So some critical extras, as I mentioned before, a lot of those certification and designations, Amazon in particular is really pushing this. They have this small business badge now on our product page. We are certified female owned as well too. So you're able to have that badge. Certified veteran owned businesses. Spread the Love is not a veteran owned business. But that being said, there are specific product categories for procurement officers at mid-sized businesses, large businesses that have mandates to buy from veteran-owned businesses, to buy from small businesses. So if you were to upload some of your certifications and designations, they can showcase those on your product page, and they can showcase them to specific, mid-sized business accounts, large business accounts, and small business accounts as well too, which in my opinion is super important and super helpful to get you going, and to sort of help, because you're able to have that extra nudge, which is super helpful. Insurance and tax considerations.
consultant tax professional, consultant financial professional. I am not either one of those. That being said, in order for us to sell on the Amazon platform and the Walmart platform, we need to have certain insurance policies that I need to upload every year and keep refreshed. So just make sure you know that going into it, that there are these specific policies that you need to have. Majority of them will be similar to the coverages that you already have, whether if you have a retail store, you have your Shopify store, or you're already selling on a marketplace. But that being said, there are those considerations that need to be taken into effect. And product claims and compliance. This is one thing that Amazon has been cracking down quite a bit on over the last couple months. That if you make certain claims about your products, and again, if you're starting from scratch, this is even more important because you need to have those claims supported, whether you use a co-manufacturer, whether you're manufacturing stuff by yourself, whether you're buying stuff from overseas, to have all that paperwork and be able to upload that and be able to substantiate all those claims. Because if it's something, hey, I'm going to be the only, organic seller of, wireless chargers and cruelty-free option and I'm going to be a small veteran-owned business. Like, how do I substantiate all that, right? And how do I have all those claims and how do I document them, whether it's me or whether it's the third party that I'm working with? So I think those are super important, and that's something that I also want to jump into and highlight. Looks like I got another. Yes, so we are going to be going a little bit over time. So that's pretty much it from a presentation standpoint. So I'll pause here. If people have any questions, I can definitely talk about it in the Q&A. As I jump into some of my appendix, which I wanted to show you. Again, huge thank you to the Arizona Commerce Authority. My contact information is over there, aloy.indigoyen@gmail.com. My cell phone number there. Feel free to shoot me a text. We could set up time to talk down the road, whether you want to hear my spread the love story or you want to hear just general conversations around e-commerce. I did want to jump into a couple of examples. So I'm going to flip my slides out. I'm going to stop my presentation mode and really jump into what the Amazon fees are. So a lot of the times people say, well, how am I going to know what money I'm going to make, right? So Amazon has this FBA calculator. So if you just type into your Google, Yahoo, Bing search bar, Amazon FBA fee calculator, you're able to jump into this calculator. If your product currently isn't on Amazon, look for a similar product, either in size, either in shape, either, some sort of competition brand that so you're able to see a similar product. And then the way you would jump into it, so if you're selling, let's call it sneakers for kids, Skechers. So if I wanted to sell a similar product to this, I have a sneaker for a child, I would search here the Amazon. It's basically the Amazon version of a SKU. So I just type the 4 letters ASIN, and then I just copy and paste this into that Amazon bar real quick. And then I'm able to jump in and see this product that I was searching. So I'm going to say search another product here. I search the Amazon ASIN here, and then now it's going to give me this SKU, right? So I'm able to see what the Amazon fees are going to be. So here's Amazon fulfillment, and then here's if I fulfill it on my own. So they give you that comparison. I'm able to see what the fulfillment costs are going to be. I'm able to see what the storage costs are going to be between January and September. I'm able to see what the storage costs are going to be from October to the end of the year. Because why? Because it's obviously a more popular time to be sending in inventory. So you're really able to jump into, from a pricing standpoint, and tell it what the average units stored that I'm going to have, what am I estimated to sell, what my COGS are. So let's just put $12.99 here, and then if I have any general miscellaneous costs like shipping to Amazon, for example. So then it's going to come up with a net profit and a net margin for me based on selling one item. Obviously, if I do 100, it's going to change the numbers here. This calculator is extremely important and extremely helpful for challenger brands, for small businesses, because you're able to really get a good understanding of how much money Amazon is going to charge you. So when I have people who set up shops, set up products, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I'm not making any money. I'm like, you could have seen this coming, right? Like they give you the tools to be successful on the platform. So maybe you didn't price it the right way. Maybe you shouldn't be selling one pair of shoes, sell a 3-pack of shoes, right? So having these conversations prior to actually going into the platform and setting up accounts is extremely important, in my opinion, because then it sort of drives the conversation into a more profitable one than just trying to generate sales or getting excited about selling your product on the Amazon platform. I'm going to jump into now sort of some of those marketplace fees. So as I said before, each category has its own fee. So the referral fee, Amazon calls it, basically is the fact that Amazon obviously gets a ton of this traffic, right? So if you want to look this up on your own, it's sell.amazon.com/pricing. So again, they're not hiding anything, right? It's all out there, pretty transparent. That category that I searched, the shoe category before, it'll automatically put that into that calculator and say, okay, the referral fee, which basically is the Amazon fee that they get for hosting your product on their platform, for lack of a better term, it changes depending on what you sell. For the food category, which is the grocery category that most of my products sell in, or the consumer category, it's 8% for products with a sale price of $15 or less, and then 15% for products with a total sale price greater than $15. So it's weird because I actually lose money if I sell my product for $14.99, then versus if I make more money at selling it at $14.99 than if I do it like $15.25. I'd have to get it up to like 17 or 18 bucks in order to capture that extra margin, because the price jumps up pretty significantly. That's why the internal conversation that we had around the multi-packs was super important in saying, hey, let's sell them for $37.99. Let's sell them for $69.99 for a 6-pack, and so on and so forth. So I think these pages are extremely important in sort of developing that pricing plan and that pricing strategy for you. And again, they're very transparent about this. Walmart is very transparent about this as well too, which is something that is extremely important when developing that pricing strategy for you. One other feature, and again, if there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. One other feature that has been very instrumental for generating listing content, so sort of taking away some of the value add that somebody like me would provide, is that if you're able to provide an upload of your image, so this is the Amazon Seller Central page where you'd be creating your products, you could actually jump in here, and they have this artificial intelligence tool, which will actually create a title, create product description, create bullet points for your item as well too, if you give it a prompt. So if you tell it about your product, maybe give it 3 to 4 sentences, upload the images as well too here, and then it's going to spit out the best product title based on all their information they have, and then based on that also give you a product category, and then based on this description also give you product description as well, and also give you just sort of those points, those short input points that are so important and so vital to success on the platform. Whereas a couple of years ago, you had to hire a marketing expert to generate the SEO and to generate the product description title. And most people wanted like super long titles. Like we used to have spread the love, vegan, organic, gluten-free, non-GMO, this, that, the other thing. I mean, it was just super long. Now they're realizing a lot more of their customers are shopping on their phones, so there is no need for that extra long title, right? And they're using this artificial intelligence tool, this machine learning tool, to actually enhance a lot of this information and make our jobs as small business owners a lot easier and more simplistic. So I highly recommend that if you do go down the Amazon path to take advantage of some of this stuff, it'll need to be modified. It's not perfect, right? I've used this for a couple of the new listings that we've had from a spread the love side of things, and it was saying stuff that just wasn't true, right? It was just basing that assumption based on some of the information that I put up here. So that was one area that, again, don't take this as 100% accurate, and always go in and modify your content based on your experience as a brand owner or somebody who works for the brand. But that's one thing that I want to specifically call out from an Amazon end of things, of how they're really taking the artificial intelligence tools to the next level. And if there's no questions right now, I'm still going to jump into TikTok Shop. So I want to show a little bit of an example here of sort of what product pages would look like on TikTok Shop. So I mentioned before that shop button over here. So here's our TikTok page. Spread the Love Foods is our handle. You're obviously able to shop on TikTok, as I mentioned before. But now we're able to link our specific products in our content, right? So back in the day, if something went viral, as I said before, we wouldn't have been able to link some of these things, but now you're actually able to link this. So you see here shop. So if you were to click this button, it would bring you to the product page and just say add to cart, buy now with any bank accounts that you have linked to your iPhone. So it's definitely something that has been evolving quite dramatically, but it's also something that, in my opinion, will be that sort of next big thing. And I know on the original slide, I had Amazon, Walmart, and then I had TikTok Shop as well too. If I do this presentation in 2 or 3 years, I'm sure some of those are going to be switched, right? There might be a new entrant there too. As I mentioned before, e-commerce professionals need to be lifelong learners because there's so many new entrants coming in and sort of shaking things up. And there's so many new features, as I mentioned before, that are existing that did not exist, 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm confident that generative AI and sort of that artificial intelligence factor is going to really help make things a lot easier for small business owners like myself and like my team at Spread the Love. So just wanted to show the TikTok end of things and sort of show what it looks like. Walmart wanted to show you, as I mentioned before, that Spread the Love peanut butter. I told you before that sort of search function, but then I see here Jif, and I can see it's sponsored, right? Jif is trying to get our customers, right? And we don't really overlap as far as our customers go, because again, we're selling a much higher end version, a much healthier version. But that being said, they still know that intent there is for somebody to buy peanut butter and they want to switch them over. So they'll even challenge a challenger brand like ourselves. And then from the Amazon function, just sort of the last thing to speak about so here's our Amazon.com/spread the love product page. We're able to develop this content. We're able to curate this content because we own the trademark. And again, you have to upload a lot of that documentation, which again, super important to know and super important to have. But that's one area that, in my opinion, you're able to develop a lot of this really, really, really strong content and then show it out when you're at a trade show, show it out when you're at other sort of events and market it out to people. I always tell a lot of the prospects that I'll reach out to from a wholesale side of things. And if they say no to me, which happens, I'd say about, I don't know, 60 to 70% of the time, I'm like, okay, you can say no to me, totally fine, but you probably buy peanut butter as long as no one's allergic, or you probably buy raspberry jam and you have a Walmart account or you have an Amazon account or you have a TikTok account. So can you support me from a small business side of things? So I always like to show them our other pages too. So I'm trying to sell, from a non-wholesale side of things, but to wholesale customers. And I guess I just always have that always be closing mindset because again, as a small business owner, you never really know when your next opportunity is going to come. I enjoy when people sort of jump in and give us objections and so on and so forth. But all in all, a great product, and all in all, appreciate the opportunity to present to everybody today. Feel free to drop anything in the Q&A and in the chat. I'm not really seeing much else there. I know I covered a lot, so feel free to reach out to me if anybody has any questions. In the future, I'll leave my contact information up here for a minute. But I think I'm going to sort of pause the presentation here. I think it's around 10:20, so I think I got a little bit of time left. But yeah, thank you so much again to the Arizona Commerce Authority. And anybody has any future or further questions, please feel free to reach out to us and check out my brand page at spreadthelovefoods.com or Amazon Spread the Love Foods.
Excellent. Thank you, Eloy. Again,
Thank
if you
you.
have any questions, we have a little bit of time. We can jump into those. But thank you for going through your additional slides you had in your appendix there and this whole presentation. Thank you for your time. I know you put a lot of time in preparing this for today's boot camp, so we really appreciate that. Great information on doing those marketplaces. I'm not seeing any new questions. So with that, we can always wrap up early, gives the people time back in their day. But again, you can see Eloy's contact information on the screen. You can shoot him an email, give him a call if you have any more questions about doing business on one of those marketplaces to grow your business. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. Again, Eloy, thank you for the presentation, the time you put in preparing it. We want to thank all of our participants for being with us this morning. You could be somewhere else, but you chose to be with us, and we appreciate that. And we hope to see you next week or even on this Thursday for our Lunch and Learn. but if not, next Tuesday morning for our next boot camp. Until then, everybody have a great week. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.